Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you're here for this record highlight video. So, I wanted to try something new with these record collection videos and spotlight a couple of albums and one band in particular, rather than reviewing multiple albums and bands. And by reviewing, I mean just discussing in a relaxed way. I am by no means any kind of music critic or reviewer, but I am a deep appreciator of music. So, in honor of Brian Wilson, I thought I would begin with a little with pet sounds and the Beach Boys today. So, this is one of my all-time favorite albums. I've heard it played in the house really my whole life. So, my father really loved the Beach Boys, and he still does. And so he played this album a lot when I was growing up, and I always really connected deeply with the incredible melodies and harmonies on this album and the Beach Boys in general. But I think that this album just contains some of the most exceptional melodies of the Beach Boys, and also I've ever heard in any music. I just could listen to it over and over, and I have. It never gets old. So one of the things that I enjoy the most of it is that you can play it all the way through, and there are no songs that sort of stand out as filler songs. It seems to tell a kind of story loosely, right? So it's not a very explicit or obvious story, but there's a feeling, there's a vibe, there's a coming of age theme, I feel. That, and many have talked about this. This is not my idea, my first idea, but it's a melancholy kind of coming of age. It's like, it just reminds me a little bit of, the excitement of growing up, and also the slight wistfulness of it. Some have said that it tells the story of a young love affair, which sort of ends over the course of the album. That's one theory. I'm not really sure that I completely get that from it. So, as you can see, so this album, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it came out in 1966, so around the same time as the Beatles' Revolver. Maybe Revolver was a little bit earlier. You all probably know more than I do. But it tells this sort of beautiful story in music and in the sort of melancholy lyrics. So I would use that word to describe much of the lyrical content. However, something I've always really enjoyed about pet sounds is that these sort of wistful or sad lyrics combined with really kind of uplifting and sometimes so more uplifting melodies that just like make your heart kind of leap. And yet the lyrics are a little bit sad at times. I mean, sometimes sad songs really just, I think, make us feel less alone in our own struggles. So sad music has its place. But the interesting thing about this album, and I think I think of this with the Beach Boys in general, is that these kind of sometimes even a little bit darker lyrics combined with this very uplifting melody. And in earlier albums than Pet Sounds, it's almost, bubblegum pop, but there are still threads of the kind of, or undercurrents of something else, something a little bit deeper. So it's never, even the earlier albums have never sounded to me like kind of straightforward, upbeat pop. So it gives the music, to me, that tension between those two elements really gives the music depth and interest, and also just an emotional charge and emotional content that I can connect with myself. So I wonder how you feel about the music you connect to the most. And I would invite you to share which songs or artists you connect with most deeply. And I would love to hear about that and the memories and experiences that you associate with them. So I'd love to talk about that. So you can see that so it's been said, not first by me again, but by critics, that this album cover is a little bit strange for the actual content of the album. So it's a pretty serious album in some ways, but you have this kind of silly image taken at the San Diego Zoo of the band members feeding a little goat. When I was a child, I thought this was very strange. I thought this was like a farm album. So yes, I think that it is a little bit of an odd art choice for the content of the album. And even the typeface, I feel like, compared to other, even earlier Beach Boys albums, this serif kind of more ornate. Ornate may not be the word. I guess the word that comes to mind, it's almost silly to my eyes. Rather than the kind of plain, bolder, simpler fonts of the other album covers prior to this. It doesn't totally seem to fit in my view. So I will turn it around so you can see there are some candid images of the band. I believe that, so the front image was taken at, as I mentioned, at the San Diego Zoo. And the back image, or images I should say, this kind of montage here, collage, these were all taken in Tokyo. I think some of the band members are dressed as samurai, which is also a bit silly, just kind of for the overall feel of this album. So, there you have it. Now, I would love to read you some songs from the song list here. Again, I don't know if you can see this before I go on to read the songs, I would like for you to see just this kind of campy font as well. So this kind of goes along with the overall impression that I have of this album, that some of the design and the art doesn't really fit the content, but now that I think more about it, kind of that dissonance does add interest to it. So maybe that has in some way contributed to its success over the years. So side 1 contains "Wouldn't it be nice? You still believe in me? That's not me. Don't talk, put your head on my shoulder. I'm waiting for the day. Sloop John B. And let's go away for a while." Side 2 has "God Only Knows. I know there's an answer. Here today. I just wasn't made for these times." Side 2 has "God Only Knows. I know there's an answer. Here today. I just wasn't made for these times. Pet Sounds and Caroline No. So some of these songs are my favorite melodies of any music, as I think I may have mentioned earlier. Among these are "Wouldn't It Be Nice," which I used to listen to as a teenager, kind of imagining what it would be like to fall in love, and what that would be like. So I was very sentimental and romantic at that time, and I don't think I've changed much over time. "You Still Believe in Me" is also really nice, and "God Only Knows" is probably my favorite melody on this album, so I would like to sing it for you, just so you kind of get a sense of what it sounds like. I may not always love you, as long as there are stars above you. You never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave me, the life would still go on, believe me. The world would show nothing to me. And what good would living do me? God only knows what I'd be without you. So, I'll also sing a little bit of "Wouldn't It Be Nice," so you can have a sense of that. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we wouldn't have to wait so long. And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? You know, it seems the more we talk about it, the worse it is to live without it. Wouldn't it be nice? So I'll pull the sleeve for you. And here you have lots of different albums and artists who were contemporaries of this Beach Boys album, and were also available on Capitol Records. So those include Rubber Soul by the Beatles, the Beatles Songbook, the Nat King Cole Story, Frank Sinatra, The Great Years, the Beach Boys Summer Days, and others. The Beatles Help. I like the texture of this insert. So I will return this to its little sleeve here. Alright, I'll put this one aside and get to my second one, which is quite different in tone and was created a few years earlier than Pet Sounds. I think this was perhaps the Beach Boys' second release. Please correct me again if not, but in contrast to Pet Sounds, I really like the artwork on this one. So I think that the kind of monochromatic blue and gray really tells the story of like an oceanic feel. So, and I like this slightly contrasting yellow font color. So you can see on the back the band members look very young. And this is very much in their kind of surf rock or surf music phase. I would say that Pet Sounds represents a departure from that very specific image or genre. So I'll turn it around and read to you the songs that are on this album. Side 1 is Surfin USA, Farmer's Daughter, Stoked, Lonely Sea, Shut Down, Noble Surfer, Honky Tonk, Lana, Surf Jam, Let's Go Trippin', Finders Keepers. And it says in the corner here, the Beach Boys' sensational first album is on Capitol Records, Surfin' Safari. It has a little guide to the slang, the surf culture of the 1960s slang, like in the left-hand corner here. And it's kind of cute and funny, so I think I'll read you that as well. Those not familiar with the wet variety of surfing might like to know that a good set of heavies is a run of really big waves, the best kind for high-speed riding, and a grunlin is a beginner surfer. Toes on the nose means riding way up front, standing with the toes right on the nose of the board for maximum speed and thrills. And on the back, there's a headline that says, "Surf's Up. Here comes the Beach Boys, #1 surfing group in the country." Here's the group that started the surf dancing craze all over the country, even in places where the nearest thing to surf is maybe the froth on a chocolate shake. So as you can see, this is very different than the Pet Sounds vibe. Still very much identified with the like youth surf culture of the 1960s and kind of creating an image based on that. Still some really incredible songs. So Brian Wilson, I believe, largely wrote and produced both. So I think that Farmer's Daughter and Lonely Sea are my favorites on this one. Highly recommend them. So, yes. I think that this is still a really fun and beautiful album. It may not be the kind of masterpiece that I consider Pet Sounds to be, but nonetheless, it's one that I continue to enjoy. Found it at a garage sale when I was in high school, so it's not in the best shape, but it does still play, so we'll count that a win. Thank you so much for joining me for this record spotlight video. Please let me know if you have any favorite albums that you would love to see. And I am also curious, as I mentioned before, about your experience connecting emotionally with certain songs and artists. So that's something that is such a bigger part of my life, and I imagine that for many people who like ASMR and kind of get tingles from it, I think it's very, that physiological reaction is probably very closely linked to the chills that we get from listening to music or being moved by a beautiful piece of art, whether it's music or visual art or drama, whatever it may be. So I hope that